Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Just Talking Books, and I am Jess, and we're talking about books. This is the next one in my best of, worst of 2025 list. I don't know. There's a lot of videos coming. But this one is about the most disappointing reads. These are not the worst. These are the ones that I had a little bit of expectation for, and let's just say they didn't go out very well, okay? We'll have content for a while. So, in 2025, I read 163 books, and I was looking for something different. And the first one that I'm going to talk about is called The Seas, and this is I think this was one for the 52 books in 52 weeks a challenge. I'll talk about my challenges in another video. It's stream of consciousness about isolation, addiction, depression, and loneliness, and it's set in Alaska. I grabbed it from the library, and I was super mad. I'm not a stream of consciousness girl. I will never be that girl. Not my thing. We just don't do this. I do it when I have to, but not by choice. And this one was very maudlin, and nothing was very happy. Like, even in like sad books, I still need moments of levity, because if it's so sad, then I just start checking out, to be honest. And that's what I did with this one. It was not very interesting. I know there was something about like a marriage or an affair or something. I don't know. It didn't stick to me. That one got 1 star, obviously. And then I did Masquerade, which is set in Timbuktu and Sengotia, I think is how you say that, in pre-colonial Africa. And it's slightly alternative timeline. This one is one of the more anticipated reads I had last year. Unfortunately, Odo, the main character, was hard to root for, mostly because she seemed very bare. Like, as a character, she was just missing some of that extra oomph, that thing that you wanted, that thing that you needed to root for her for. And I didn't find it there. I wanted to like it, however, it wasn't something that I enjoyed. And she was a mix of naive and lacking sense with a touch of badassery, so there was nothing that grounded her. You know, like, her mom was a blacksmith. The blacksmiths all were like in a union, and she was very rare, and you know, all these things were going on, and but I couldn't find it. And she was like one of the wives of the tribal leader and the chieftain, and I just felt very bleh. I wasn't a fan. And after being kidnapped, did she become the wife? And there was a lot of interplay, and I like interplay. I love that character interplay, but it felt like she just missed the mark as someone to pull onto and to really hold on to. And the plot was so overbloated. It got so overwhelming. Like, a good 50 pages could have been taken off and it probably would have been fine. That one was 2 stars, by the way. Another one was Our Wives Under the Sea. And I was excited about this one because I saw it on social media last year. And I was like, oh, this is going to be cool. I was not here for it. It was too overly complicated. Like, if you've ever seen the Doctor Who episode Midnight, that was what I kept imagining, especially with the cover. It felt like it was that, and I was just not here for it, to be honest. I found the grief and the depression and all that to be relatable, but I also felt like we were missing something along the way to make me want to pull for these characters. And it was a lesbian romance idea. It wasn't a romance like as in like the capital R, but it was a romance, and you could feel the like disconnection and all this kind of stuff. And then there was like other people involved, and you know, the wife was somewhere else, and it felt very cumbersome. That one was a 1 star. And then you have The Story Collector, which was a dual timeline in Ireland. Hello, I'm happy. This makes me happy. But what happened? It was just so boring. I needed more. There was like, rereading the review, I noticed too few fairy elements, and the main character was clearly not written by an American. And I say that because she's supposed to be from, I think, Massachusetts, and she was definitively not from Massachusetts. She spoke like a Irish, woman. She did not have there's a cadence that comes with different parts of the U.S., and Boston has its own in that area, and it just did not read that way at all. I was just not here for it. And my final note on the review was, not sure I'd rec this one to readers unless they enjoy plotting frustration. So it was too much. I did not find it enjoyable. I did not find it cute. I did not find the storyline to be funny or following this lady's journey. None of this was it was not good for me. That one was 2.5 stars, and that was only because there was some basic structure to the story, so I didn't hate it. And then you had The Full Moon cafe shop. I was so excited about this one. This was one of my anticipated reads from last year, and I found it on sale cheap at Talia, so I got the ebook. And I was just like, oh my god, there's a cat, and it's a cafe, and it's a like mystical timeline, and there's all this kind of stuff going on, and you're set in, like, I think it was Japan, and all this, things were connecting and things were together. My biggest problem though was if you are not deep into astrology, you are not going to understand this. And I grew up with astrology, so I'm not unknown to the idea of it. But like everything was plotted to a chart, and I lost the momentum because I stopped caring because the astrology was so high, and it meandered too often, like the pathways and the storylines, and they did interconnect, and I did give it 3 stars, so it's not a bad book by any means. But again, I was disappointed because I was expecting more oomph and emphasis and something to it. Unfortunately, that's not what I got. And finally, we have Carmilla. Now, I have seen this being talked about all the time because it's a classic, and it's one of those that you have to read this book because it's got the whole, like, Dracula, the bride, the let you in with all the, like, lust and the peel and the what we call vampire, kind of charisma now. And I was like, okay, cool, because it's about 2 women. Again, I am so here for, like, reading books that are LGBTQ plus focused. I'm so here for it. But this one felt short and only got 3.5 stars because I felt like there's a lot of telling and not enough showing. It's something I talked about in another book I'll talk about for this month in January of 2026. It's missing that gripping, it's supposed to be like a supernatural thriller, basically, or literary thriller, whatever you want to call it. And it doesn't hit that mark. It's not like Frankenstein, which was, I think around the same time. But it doesn't have that beat. You don't have that story beat. Like, you don't have eventually what's going to happen because the hints are so heavily dropped. And in Frankenstein, you're like, oh, this is happening and this is happening, and oh, I didn't expect that, that kind of thing, even though it's more of a tell, don't show, but there's something in the way it's pinned. And Carmilla was missing that. It was missing a lot of the things that make me go, oh, I need, I have. I read it and it gave it 3.5 stars. Again, that's not bad. That's basically like a B, somewhere in a B category out of a, A through F. But I just was missing something, and I was so disappointed because everyone keeps talking about it, and I just was not here for it, to be honest. And that was the last disappointing book. I have other books that are the worst of. I have lots of them. But these were the ones that I expected more out of, and I did not get them. And that just makes me so sad because there's so much more that they could have been said and done. And it wasn't there. And I think that that's a pity, to be honest. I feel like we need to have more. I don't know. I like to read classics. I don't like classics, but I'm trying to read them and find what I enjoy. And Carmilla was just one that I think was overhyped. Sorry. If you love it, this is not intended to attack you. I just don't like it. It is what it is. Did you like any of the books that, I was disappointed by? Were you disappointed by them as well? Did you read them? Have you heard of some of these? I found Masquerade by pure accident last year, and I bought the audiobook. And so I was, really into it, and I felt bad that, I wanted to like these books and I couldn't. And there was a mix of purchase, and at the time I had Audible and as well as the library, so there was a whole mix of things in Kindle Unlimited and stuff like that. So again, I'm trying to expand what I read, and these were disappointing to me, sad to say. So let me know, and I will talk to you later. Okay, guys, bye.